In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you relationships from 3 different levels of consciousness. There are going to be 3 different people that have different perspectives on this concept. I'm going to show you those perspectives and how they form your reality and how you can move on to the higher levels. So without further ado, let me introduce you to those people. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how relationships work from my level of consciousness. I say my because I'm very invested in my ego, okay? I exist primarily in survival mode, and it's very important in relationships for me to get what I want and to get what I need. My main priority when it comes to relationships is what can I get? If I can get a lot out of a relationship, then that is something that makes me very happy. I'm a very Aaron is very happy. So relationships in general for me are things and people. When I'm in a relationship, if they make me happy, I'm good. They're there mainly to serve my needs. Now, when I think about relationships, a very important thing for me is when I'm talking to someone, I get pretty jealous. So when that other person that I'm with, no matter if, when we're in the relationship, I don't care if they're going to some type of get together with their friends and it's some girls' night out, I'll be honest, I worry about it because there's a good chance that she's going to cheat. There's a good chance of it, just gonna call it out right now. So if I'm at home with my friends, I'm constantly thinking about it. I'm constantly thinking about how she may do something like that, or how some guy's just gonna swoop in and do something. I don't necessarily trust her. The reason being is because I've had things like that happen before, and therefore I don't want to chance it. So normally what I do is I passive aggressively get mad at her for wanting to go have girls' night out. Eventually we get into an argument. I say, no, you just go do what you want. And then she's in such a bad mood that she just doesn't even want to go out. It's passive aggressive, but it gets the job done. So when it comes to relationships, I view it as someone in a relationship. It's about what can I get out of it and how does this benefit me? And if it benefits me, then I stay in the relationship. Now, one thing that I'm not quite aware of, but someone with awareness kind of told me this, is that I've noticed that most of my relationships are all repeat patterns from past relationships because everyone else is the problem. You notice that? It's always the other person that's the problem. Even though I've had a certain type of relationship, maybe women are always a certain type of way. I have certain beliefs about how women are. Even though it'll be a different person, they always have the same type of personality. They're always a similar type of way. Women are looking at me as this type of way. And every relationship is that way. That's just the way reality is. The way reality is women are this way. There's a guy with awareness that was telling me that maybe it's my perception of it or something like that, but no. It's just the way reality is. I can't deny the way that reality is. So for me, reality is very fixed. Reality is very solid, and because reality is very solid, that's how I experience it. Now, as far as validation goes, I get validation from the other person. I'm constantly looking for them to give me some type of compliment as to how I look, as to whether I'm doing things right. And if I get that validation, then I feel happy. If they don't give me that validation, then my needs aren't being met, and I may not mention it to them. I probably will do something else that's passive aggressive, because passive aggressive is a way that I act out a pattern and I have them become aware of it, but not really become aware of it, just become aware that there's something wrong, and then eventually they figure it out. Now, when it comes to sex, basically, as long as I'm getting some, I'm happy. It's primarily about how often we do it as well. The quality, it's kind of whatever. If we are doing it at least 6 times a week, I'm good. I was hearing about how sexual energy is something that sometimes people use to build and to use it for creative purposes. I don't believe in that though. I believe that we were created, we're put on earth so that we could bang it out, and then after we bang it out, we create life or we don't. And it's just about, it's a natural human drive. And you have to get that needs fulfilled in order to be happy. So, in general, when it comes to relationships, everyone else is the problem except for me. And if everyone else would do the right thing, then I would be happy. And if my partner, my girlfriend, is that of exactly the way I expect them to be, then I'm going to be happy. Okay? And if there's something that's wrong within me, what I do is realize that, first off, that's normally not the case. Just going to be honest here. Normally, it's not something wrong within me. But if something is wrong within me, I'm going to expect them to make it better. Because that's what relationships are about. Relationships are about this person's here, and they just need to complete each other and make each other happy. And knowing that and having that other half, the other half to my soul, then it makes me, I know that I can finally be happy. So the way I also view relationships is very much like I have to do, as the guy, I have to do things that are very manly. And cooking, doing the dishes, things like that. No, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that stuff. That's not the way it works. The way reality works is the guy is the provider, and on the other side of that, there's someone that does the dishes and does and fulfills that role. Okay? That's how it's been for thousands of years. That's how it should continue to go. So the way that I view relationships in general is what can I get? Beyond what can I get, it's what can I, how can this person make me happy? As long as we're 6 times a week minimum, I'm good. Quality doesn't matter, just quantity. I'm all about quantity. And other than that, as long as these needs are being met, I am happy. So that's pretty much it. All right, welcome. My name's Aaron with an E. See it right there. Anyways, Aaron from an E sometimes talks in ego because he's still somewhat rooted in the egoic perspectives. Okay, but now I'll shift to actually being the character. So, my name's Aaron. I help people expand their consciousness. Now, this level in relationship to relationships is about understanding more of a confused level of awareness. I'm aware that there's certain patterns, and I have an intention to grow from past patterns because I have a level of reasoning. So I understand that some of what I put in out is what I can get back, so it's not always the other person. Sometimes it is. But in general, I still view it like there's somebody else that's meant to complement my life. And there's someone else that's meant to enhance my life. So that person is, in a way, my other half. I think that I do have the capability of being happy myself, but it is still about having somebody there to share the experience with. And at this level, what we do is we work on progress. We work on growing together. So as long as we're growing together, as long as we can go to Tony Robbins conferences together, we can yell things out in the crowd, we can get really excited, we can get our state up. We're ready to go. Because I learned these things from reading self-help books. If we have a problem, there's a book to figure that out. Okay? There's a book that we can figure this out from. And what we can do is anytime we want, we can change our state. right. So knowing this is very powerful because then it's like two people can grow together. They're on a certain trajectory, they meet at a point in their life, and then they grow together. And there's things that they can do to grow. There's problems, there's things that are going to come up. But it's about togetherness, figuring them out. And if there's problems you don't know the answer, get a book, go to a seminar, go to therapy. There's ways out of the darkness of trying to figure that out. So when it comes to relationships in general, the main thing that I am focused on is growth. It's understanding that we are both happier together. We still, in a way, are focused on completing each other. We understand, yes, we're individual people, but we do, in a way, complete each other. And because we complete each other, we then do everything we can to make each other happy. So definitely a higher level of awareness than when AA Ron was still in the show. And this has to do with understanding that as well, there is still a level of trust. Okay? I'm reading my notes from the Tony Robbins seminar. I wrote down notes when I was there, and he said things about relationships. He said this in a relationship. I saw him say it, and I really believe he said, if you treat people like you did in the beginning of the relationship, always, there'll never be an end. So I'd always do that. So you gonna take out the trash, honey? No, I'm gonna do that because Tony Robbins says it works. And if he says it works, then he's in a happy relationship. So let me see what else I wrote down. One sec. Okay. Sorry, I was getting need a little bit more energy there. There's still, at this level, I also understand that there's a level of respect. There's a level of respect that we have for each other. There's a level there is communication, but there's the awareness that most of the problems are with the other person, okay? They have stuff to figure out. I'm going to help them figure it out. And if I can help them figure it out, then I will help them to stay on the same level as me. If this person is not growing with me, then they're probably growing apart from me. But, like I said, if you treat someone in the beginning like you did, if you treat someone always like you did in the beginning, there'll never be an end. So you can focus on that, okay? To make this relationship work, it's about progress, and it's about knowing that there's always a way to grow. Now, when it comes to sex, it's a little bit more about quality and quantity. Okay, I still need that. But I also understand that when it comes to willpower, the energy of sex is used for goals. So there is a certain level of holding back sometimes just to keep that fire going. You know what I mean? It makes it more meaningful when it actually happens. So it's a little bit less about quantity and a little bit more about quality. Those are quality claps right there. So in general, from everything I could see in my notes, it's, the last thing I'll say about this level is I love them as long as they love me. Okay? I love them as long as they love me. So it's a conditional love. I'll love you as long as that's coming back to me. But if we were to ever split up or anything, that love would be gone. Okay? That's just how it works. That's this level of consciousness. So because of that, that's how relationships work. And a little more energy. All right, welcome back to another video. My name is Erwan, and in this video, I'm going to show you how relationships work from a higher level of consciousness. Now, the way it works, kombucha plays into my level of consciousness very well. Because if you're of this higher level consciousness, you drink kombucha, okay? At this level of consciousness, I am an eternal spiritual being, and I recognize that. So I also recognize that reality is a reflection. So there really isn't a other me. There's just a reflection of my own consciousness. Yes, we're still in a relationship. We still love each other. But there's a high level of love that flows through that is unconditional. It's an unconditional love. Because this version is another aspect of me. And when I realized this, it was a game changer. Therefore, I know that if there's anything I want to change in this other person, all I gotta do is change within myself. I recognize that a lot of times if there's something that angers me about them, it's not them, it's me. Because I have this rule in my mind, I have this expectation as to how they're supposed to be. So when I think of relationships and I think of love, I think of that's the way reality is. We are all love. And the person that I'm with is a divine expression of that love, just like everything else is a divine expression of that love, because it's all reflection anyways. Now, I view love as sacred when it comes to romantic love. I view it as sacred. I view it as I'm with this person, this soul, but it's a spiritual thing. I feel a connection to this person that has transcended just this 3D avatar ego reality. I feel like it's much deeper than that. Maybe we had past lives together and stuff like that. Maybe in past lives we went to Arrow One, we spent about $18 on a kombucha and we drank it. And we split it because there's 2 servings per bottle and there's 16 grams of sugar per serving. We knew this. It's awareness. All right? And maybe we didn't have Arrow One back in past lives. But I'm sure that we would have bought some type of overpriced kombucha somewhere. And if kombucha wasn't around, we would have found something very trendy and new agey, okay? But in general, the part that's important to understand here is that we are infinite spiritual beings. We are 100% whole and complete, and we are all reflections of each other. And with love, there's an unconditional love there. Because that love of that other person is also a love for myself. When it comes to sex here, it's sacred. It's a sacred, divine thing. There's more so of a focus on cultivating energy in the sense of the Kundalini energy. Some people call it Tantra. But it's a way of balancing out the energy of the energy bodies. And it becomes a very spiritual, meaningful thing. It's almost like you become one with the other person. So quantity is something that is a quick fix. It's more about quality, and it's more, even beyond that, it's more about the divine connection that you feel with someone else. So when it comes to love, there is also an intention to communicate and be 100% honest. I trust this person in my life because I trust myself. So because of that, I don't worry if she wants to go do something, it's totally fine. And not only is it fine, but it's perfect, and I trust that process because I trust myself and I trust my own guidance system. So when it comes to relationships, I realize that the main relationship is the relationship with myself. I think I'm already 100% whole and complete. And because of that, I'm able to see this other person as a divine reflection of me. So there's a 100% trust. There's also a level of awareness to where I've healed the patterns of past relationships, so now I allow something greater to come into my life. I don't have stories about how women are or how relationships are, and because I don't have those stories, I don't continue to create those patterns over and over again. So the key to this process of me is divine reflection. Relationships are sacred. Relationships are something that you grow from, but it's from a spiritual growth more so than anything else. But underneath that is an unconditional love that exists because it exists within me. So that's all I got. I'm going to go ahead and continue to drink my $16 or $18 kombucha. It's got a lot of sugar, but it's okay because I'm a divine spiritual being. So what you just saw was 3 different levels of consciousness and those vibrational states and how those perspectives view the idea of relationship. So for it to go from the neediness of Aaron into the willpower of Aaron and the growth, it takes a level of awareness and acceptance of certain patterns, and acceptance of the other person, acceptance of the self. When you accept, you're then able to transform. But the key, of course, is awareness. When you're aware or when you think that the problems are outside of you, then you externalize your own power. When you start to see it as more of something that you can do something about it, you start to feel powerful. You get out of the victim mentality of people always do this to me or the stories. You then start to gain your power back. Then, in Aaron's level of consciousness, Aaron with an E, he's able to become more aware of himself in relationships to growth, in relationships to already being whole and complete, but wanting to emphasize that experience with the other person. It's more about willpower and getting to another level and growth. Then you got the spiritual side of Erewhon. Erewhon, besides drinking $16 kombucha, he is aware that he's an infinite spiritual being living a temporary human experience, and everything is a reflection of him. So to tap into that from Aaron's with an E's level, what he must do is he must start to tap into himself, tap into the spiritual side of himself, go more within and realize that everything is a reflection on the outside. So in general, relationships are something that you grow from, but at the same time, relationships are something you realize as reflections. But once again, it just depends on the level of consciousness. So let me know what you think about the different levels of consciousness. Which version of Aaron did you like the best? Also, do you like this video series? This is the first time I've ever done something like this. Let me know what you think about this, and I'll keep doing them. Maybe leave different concepts, different ideas of the topics about what these 3 different levels of consciousness would talk about, and I will continue to make those videos. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like it if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you can see the daily vids. The way YouTube does it now is you have to hit that button to see the daily vids. I got a lot more coming. And as always, peace, much love, and namaste.